Right, we're on. Everything looks like
All
up
right,
and
we're
running.
streaming on Facebook too. Yay. Okay. So we got Michelle on board.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Yeah. Hello. Hello. Hello, everybody. Two.
All right. I'm trying to find it on Facebook so I can. There we are.
There you are. Are we up?
Awesome. So we
Awesome.
are live on Facebook,
Hello.
guys. Those
Hello,
of you who
Linda.
are watching us on Facebook, I will be monitoring that one tonight. Make sure we don't miss any comments.
Awesome. Good. Hello, everybody. Welcome. Happy summer.
Yes. All right. So we got Glenda, Michelle, we got Sophia. Sophia, your name looks new. Have you been on one of these shows before? Let's see. Johnny. There's Johnny. It's a party. It's a party. Okay, Sophia, welcome back.
Yes.
Hey, Glenda.
Hi, Glenda. How are you? Johnny, did you catch any fish yesterday?
I want to hear about his triathlon.
Yeah, I think a triathlon. I saw some fishing trip. Must be a busy guy. Love it.
Johnny, what kind of distances did you do on that triathlon? Curious minds want to know.
Sophia, that looks really familiar. Sophia, actually.
Yeah, she's been on. I think I just caught that. Yeah. Hello. Yes.
Okay.
Good. I get my coffee mug. I love it, Cosi.
I know. Finally, it took forever to get them in, but I was just like, I set one aside for you. I was just like, okay, this one's
perfect. Thank you. I'll
get rid of the green
from
our conferences.
Awesome. That's good. Good. So Chris, pickleball today. Tell me about the pickleball as we're letting people log on.
Oh my goodness.
Are you hooked on it now? Or
so the problem was, well, I haven't played tennis for like 25 years, but so my whole animal like instinct was to just run up on the net and like and the poor instructor, because we had a lesson which was awesome, and he's just like, really, you need to just chill out. So you wait for it to
smashing volleys.
Yeah, and seriously, I have issues.
Yeah.
I wanted to kill the thing, kill my just, so it was really fun. And it is truly tennis, a little bit of, ping pong and maybe some badminton. So it was, yeah, fun. It was really fun.
Are you allowed to let it bounce, or do you have to keep it from bouncing?
We probably shouldn't go. There's very complicated. So you have to bounce on the serve, but after that, game on. And you just can't hover around the net. So I still blew out my own knee a little bit. So maybe I'm like too old for pickleball. I'm not really sure, but well, stay tuned on that one. Stay tuned.
We'll have to play. We'll try.
Johnny, holy cow, man.
Wow.
Cycling, 3.2 mile run. How much should the swim? A 1 mile or maybe a half mile swim? Lots of sea bass. Ooh.
Wow.
Did you do that while swimming or the sea bass part?
Maybe he was swimming with the sea bass. Maybe he was swimming with the sea bass. I don't know.
Yeah, we got to do some sea bass on the swim. There you go.
So the place where we were staying, it's Florida, so there's a canal behind the place we were staying, and of course there's like 3 crocodiles or 3 alligators the whole time.
Wait, what?
Scary. Where just put in there, right? Oh man.
Any body of water in Florida, if you're in a housing development, there's a little lake or pond, there will be a gator in there.
Now, is that is amazing. Any manatees?
Well, the manatees would be they're out in the ocean, and there's actually a spot here where there's a power plant, and they congregate near it because of the warm water. So that's actually a manatee viewing center that we can go to. But yeah, any other body of water here in Florida, it's got a gator in it.
Got a gator. Wow.
A gator. So when you go fishing, you gotta be careful.
Right, because I did see a video of these guys caught a big fish, and he was running back because the gator was coming after his fish. Yeah. And literally ran on, off and drug it up on shore, and the thing came up on the shore and literally got the fish before he could get away. So
lucky it didn't get him, because even with our kids know, they know, like, you don't go near the water.
So exactly, it's the land part. I will swim with sharks all day long. Just forget about a gator thing. I'm not doing the gator.
I just don't want either one.
Right. Yeah, I'm kind of.
No Go
Yeah.
to the shark.
We'll pass.
All right. So let's get started. Good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining us for the VitalFit webinar series. Tonight, we have dedicated to Q&A, so please put your questions in the chat box and Cosi and Greg will answer those questions. So this is going to be really fun. I'm Chris Erbacher, by the way, and our two hosts, if you don't know, which would be tough, but Cosi Bioso, God love her, is a master's in physical therapy, and she has a clinical practice in Florida, and it's dedicated to individuals with limb loss. Cosi also has an awesome Cosi Talk show live on Facebook. Again, everything limb loss, and we are so fortunate to have her in the community. So welcome, Cosi.
Thank you guys. Looking forward to tonight's talks.
All right. Also, Greg Menino has been in the industry for almost 20 years. He's a certified prosthetist. He's worked with manufacturers on R&D as well as a clinical specialist. Greg's also a 2-time world champion and 22-time medalist in the Olympics and Paralympics in downhill skiing. And it only took me a year to get that. Oh, I got it.
Yeah.
Yay.
Well,
So welcome.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks. Yeah. Good to be here again for show. It's our year anniversary here. So pretty neat. Everybody's participating, keeping along. But I've been around prosthetics a little longer than 20 years. So thank you. I'll take that small number saying
I say almost.
I am younger than
I'm the almost 20. He's the weight.
Yeah.
20.
Right.
Yeah.
So away. So all right, noted.
Those are bragging rights right there. That's
All right. Well, congrats. Well, thank you, Sophia. Yeah, 1 year.
Yay. We're excited about it.
Yeah. So tonight is basically open season on the clinicians, guys. Ask us your questions. We'll tell you no lies. So Johnny, I'm curious, how did you do with the swimming? Like, how did you do transitioning from, I'm assuming it was a beach swim, right? How did you go into the water? Did you swim with your prosthesis on? Did you approach the water without your prosthesis? How did you handle that transition? Because I know that's a big one for triathletes. Is just even when you are working with 2 anatomical limbs, the transitioning between all the different activities is a bit hellish sometimes. So
right, but you're trying to move and go quick, changing gear, shoes to, yeah. How did you do that, John? I'm curious too. Without the prosthetic, you swim. All right, that's good.
Okay.
Did you hop out in the water or did you crutch? Yeah, that's a good question.
And then more importantly, getting out of the water, did you gauge where you left your?
Oh, that's true. That I never thought about that. That's a good question. Plus, you're kind of exhausted from the swim, and then you got to jump out there and then re-gear. I think the whole thing, because I'm not a triathlete, but I think that the mental part of that sport, because you just got to be calm trying to change your gear. If you end up with some issue with the tire on the bike part, you got to be calm. I'm that guy that I'd be like, losing my head, just trying to, move too quick. And I don't know. I think that takes some training for sure, some mental training. All right. I see that you got a little help in and out of the water. Well, good. That's a huge 12.5 miles. I got to scroll back, John.
Yeah. 12.5 mile bike and then a 3.2 mile run. So a little over 5K. That's
big. That's huge. That's great.
Right. So one of the questions that came in that I think was kind of a great one, it said, I've been an above the knee amputee for 10 years. I lost my leg and still haven't found it. I like that. As a result of a bike accident. I was in terrific shape at the time and in a prosthesis within less than a month. I was 55. I'm in a C leg now, a 4, as opposed to the original 3, able to hike, wear heels, pretty much everything I've been doing, albeit much slower and awkwardly before amputation. About 4 years ago, got very sick and remained so for about 8 months. And when I was able to join the living again, I had lost 12 pounds and needed a new socket. Since that time, I've only been able to wear one shoe. And when I try other shoes, I have serious balance issues and or back aches. Is there something I can do that would allow me to wear another brand or model of shoe? I love these kind of questions.
That's a great question.
Do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first, Greg?
Well, I think I'm going to let you go, and then I'll see if I can interject with your knowledge. So
So guys, whenever you have a change in your status, basically whether it's a change in the prosthetic componentry, you get a new socket, you get a new knee, you get a new foot, or change in you. In the case of this particular lady, she had an illness that kept her down for 8 months. That's a really long time, guys. And it doesn't take much for us to become deconditioned. As little as 2 weeks, if you get sacked with a decent pneumonia or the flu and just that lays you low for 2 weeks, recovering from that, it shows you right there just how much deconditioning your body can go through. And in her case, losing 12 pounds, which that there was a muscle mass that was also lost during that time frame. So here's what happens when you have any kind of an injury, whether it's from disuse or an actual trauma done to the muscle. When you start using your muscle again, your body is only going to use the necessary amount of fibers that it needs to move. Your muscles are really lazy in that regard. Okay, and I did a whole, can I plug here for a minute my YouTube?
Yeah.
Guys, check out my YouTube channel. There's a whole lecture I did under the live event series about muscle anatomy and strengthening and how it works. Okay, so I explain it in detail there. But basically, you have tons of muscle fibers and motor units in your muscles, right? And your brain's going to recruit just what it needs to move. Okay, so in the case of this particular lady, she was obviously very active before, so her brain already kind of knew the ropes. So it's just recruiting the necessary muscle fibers. Unless you purposely load those muscles with strength training, right, your body is not going to want to use any more than it has to. Okay, you have to challenge those muscles with weight training in order to start recuperating those muscle fibers. And in her case, she says, I'm losing my balance and I get backaches after walking for a long period of time. Okay, so that's indicative that her core is weak, her glutes are probably very weak, and then with balance in regards to the fact that she has a new socket that's a whole lot smaller now. So having to kind of reestablish those neural pathways for balance. So in the case of someone like her, I would, if she had been one of my patients, I would have said, yep, come in for a short course of therapy to get you strong and get you back on track again.
And Cosi, Sophia has a question. What are muscle fibers?
So muscle fibers, basically, if you look at, I'm just going to use this analogy. So when you go buy a steak, flank steak, right? And you see it raw and you see like it has like almost like fibers running parallel, very thin fibers. We call those striations. That's how the muscle fibers in our body look. Okay. And it goes down and down and down and down to a microscopic level. It's like one little muscle fiber and then 10 of them grouped together. And then another, those group muscle bundles grouped together, right? So with each muscle fiber, you have a motor unit, meaning you have a nerve that goes to that muscle fiber or that group of muscle fibers. And that's how your muscle is controlled. Okay. So that's basically what we're referring to. So it's easy when, like I said, when you go to the grocery store in the butcher section, you'll see that's very similar as to how the human muscle looks when you're looking at it in vivo. Yeah.
Good analogy. Yeah, no, I agree. And then for those like if you open up like a mango, doesn't mango have kind of fibers too?
Fibers?
Don't want to look at the meat, but got a little.
In anatomy, sorry if this kind of grosses some folks out, but in anatomy class, we take anatomy class the same way the medical students do in PT school. We do a cadaver dissection. And it was definitely an eye-opener because you're just like, wow, our anatomy, there is some similarities there to animal anatomy in terms of how the muscles are formed, how they run, and the actions that they do. So, but that's my word flag right there.
Good. Well, I think you spot on. Just in my own experience, when I had a little surgery in January, being kind of sedentary for 3 months or 2.5 months, just to change what occurred in my socket and what I had to get through to get where I'm at today. It just was back pain. It was socket adjustment. It was literally, I was putting some pads in the socket because I lost muscle volume. And then now I'm starting to hypertrophy. So I could take those pads out this week. So it's pretty interesting. So I think you got a great point. We need to stay active in this question. Going through it, okay, you lose weight, you're going to change your socket. If you're wearing a liner, you can add socks and volume, but if it gets too excessive, again, when you see 15 ply, we want a new socket involved. But changing shoes, that's a great question. I pretty much stay with the same heel height And on this this gal's question here, throughout my shoe line. So as you know, I love the Hoka's. I use their hiking boots. I use their tennis shoes, and I don't have to adjust it. But for somebody who wants to change shoes and change the look or go into high heels, there's some great prosthetic feet out there. The Runway, the Ascent is a great one. You know that one, Cosi. Back in the day, Blatchford used to have an adjustable ankle that was hydraulic, the Brio. You remember that? That was great for guys too. So you could put on your hunting boots, your motorcycle boots, and that addressed, I think, some of this question that we're asked here. As soon as you get on your prostheses with any type of heel that it's set up for, let's say, a 3/8 heel height, it creates stability issues and instability issues. So great question. I think you could talk to your prosthetist and look at some adjustable heel height feet. I think that addresses the question here. And or, you know, some of us just stick with the different, same shoe line, same kind of heel height, but different looks. So.
And then kind of tacking on to that, a lot of people, especially women, and I totally get this because I love to wear heels. So ladies, I appreciate you wanting to be able to do that again. So usually what I recommend is when folks are first learning to use the prosthesis, to pick a pair of shoes that will just stay with you until you're comfortable with the prosthesis. And then after that, experimenting with the different heel heights. And what Greg said is absolutely right. Talking to your prosthetist to see what adjustments need to be made as you change your heel height, whether you have one of those specialty feet, or maybe your prosthetist hands you the wrench and teaches you how to do these little minor adjustments on your own. But it is important to understand that, yes, your alignment is different when you're wearing even just a 1-inch heel height. And then the other recommendation is the same way that you may have learned to walk in heels before your limb loss, where you just had a practice in your house, walking up and down. Same thing after limb loss. After you've established comfort with using the prosthesis, then try on the different pair of heels and then do your balance exercises in those in a safe place until you get comfortable doing it. But I've seen women walking, below the knee and above the knee with heels beautifully.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So we got a couple of shout outs from Facebook. Kevin, I'm super excited that you got your product. So please let me know how that goes. And Joan had a comment regarding the topic we were just discussing. She said, it sounds like me, muscles are still hibernating. Haha, I can't wait to build muscle and practice your tips from last week's 3-day conference.
Oh, thank you for the plug, Joan. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Great.
Okay,
That's
good. All right, guys.
Right.
So let's take on the next question. Let's see.
Yeah, I'm looking at 2 different questions here. Anyone's come in here?
Nope.
Anybody, you can post a question, any question you have. You've got one of the best PTs in the country here, so ask her if it's training involvement, prosthetic involvement, just any general topic. I think that's what we kind of came up with the show idea, because we've been, putting out a lot of information, and we want to see some response and impact and questions on anything from the past year of you, because I think there's about 10 people have attended every webinar for the year. Is that right, Chris?
It is. And so let's have some fun. Can we take a break?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we've been doing these fabulous webinars for a year now. So I want to shout out to a special person on a lot of levels, just because of the beautiful person he is, but also tonight marks the 10th webinar that Johnny V has participated, and his input, and he was on our show. So big shout out to Johnny V. Thank you so much. And we're going to send you some good stuff, Johnny. So thank you for your 10th.
Excellent.
Good.
I love me some Johnny V.
I know. Yeah. And let's give another giveaway just because we're on a roll. So folks, Jamie's going to put a link into the chat section. And if you click on that link, it's going to take you to our blog. And if you would let us know the name, the first few words of the first blog, we're going to draw for a free travel kit. So please put that in the chat box. We'll give you a sec to do that.
So can I mention something that I just learned today about the VitalFit products when I was reading over just stuff that we were going to discuss today? The shelf life. like there was a person who had asked the question, what is the shelf life of VitalFit products? And it says our products have no active ingredients in them, therefore no expiration date.
Right, right. So we do track them by what's considered a lot number, if you will. And so we rotate them, but it's safe to say that once on arrival, you're good for at least 3 years. Because
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great question. I've got a great story to share today from a gentleman that was visiting me yesterday, ex-triathlete, cyclist. This guy is just an amazing athlete. I gave him some liquid to powder to try for like an anti-friction for hiking. We did a 5-mile hike yesterday, and then or the day before, and 3 miles yesterday. And he is a lifetime athlete at 63. So he's a little bit, that middle-aged athlete, but he was just saying, I have no sweat. I'm not getting any friction. And he's sold just like this. And here's an able-bodied guy, just as we've talked about the applications of liquid powder for just sports or athletes. Perfect yesterday.
Awesome.
I know.
I have a huge shout out to Sharon, Greg. Sorry to cut you off because I'm a little slow tonight. Sharon, thank you. It's Sharon's 10th birthday too.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So much. Yay. Thank you, Sharon. Hey. Thank you, Sharon. So Sharon and Johnny, please check out my email at the end. Give me your address and we'll hook you up with the stuff. Thank you so much. I appreciate you.
Very nice.
Awesome.
Guys, another question that we've been asked on the show that I do want to address is, people who are diabetic. One person in particular wrote, that her father is a diabetic with very delicate skin on his feet and wanted to know, dry skin, if this product line is safe to use with diabetics. And that's a resounding yeah, definitely. The recommendation definitely is if there's any open areas of skin that get checked out first, that the products not be applied to any parts of the skin that might be open, especially if you're diabetic. You want to make sure that skin is closed and healed. But once it's healed, these products are phenomenal for keeping that skin healthy. And for me, whenever my diabetics come into my clinic, I'm always looking at their sound leg just to see, do they have that brawny looking red skin, brown skin, scaly skin on the sound leg that shows compromise there. And these products are really good at keeping that skin nourished and healthy. So just kind of wanted to reiterate that.
Yeah, that's a good one. I see another question here about washing liner sleeves and socks.
Yeah.
Again, we can use the liquid or excuse me, the cleanser, and doing that every day is really what's key, or even twice a day, or having your backup liner or sleeve. But anything in contact with the skin, you want to keep it clean. And I think we said this a couple of weeks ago, because it's like that sterile environment is for optimum for skin, integrity and outcomes. So that's a good question, I think.
Especially with the summer months coming up right now, it is 8:30, almost 9 o'clock at night here, and it's 90 degrees, guys, 90 degrees, and humidity is high.
Right.
So at daytime, pretty miserable. So you got to stay on top of your skincare during these months, especially.
Right. Right now here too, 90 degrees, right where I'm at. So it's hot anywhere across the country.
It's 90 here too. So I guess it's like the 90 club.
Yeah. So yes, yeah. And if you're wearing cross pieces.
Wow.
I know. Pretty crazy weather in the country. So
John, congratulations. You won the travel kit. Thank you so much for participating. And Joan, please take down my email address at the end and we will send that to you. Thank you so much.
Good.
Hey, Greg, did you read Johnny's question?
I haven't seen it. Hang on, let me look.
Go look. Cortland says it's 90 degrees plus humidity in Western New York. Ouch. Ouch.
Okay, that's hot. Yeah, here it is. When am I going deep sea fishing with Johnny? And when is Cosi going skiing with Johnny? Maybe we should all meet up somewhere. We'll do a fishing and skiing trip.
I'll do the fishing. I am really good at fishing and filleting a fish. I'm down with that. Down with that.
I don't know if Cosi does snow, Greg.
I would be scary to watch on. I've never been on a pair of these. So
I don't know. If you're a good athlete, I think you could just you're ripping right down the slope in no time. So what do you think, Connie? I think she would too. So
we'll have to try it at some point. So Paul is saying Joan says, I keep getting the beginnings of a blister on the front of my tibia and it's itchy some nights. Okay.
Okay, good question.
You go first on this one, Greg.
Okay, well, there could be a couple things going on here. You could be, because it's 90 degrees everywhere across the country, your perspiration may be a little more increased than usual in the socket, so you're losing some volume. So be up on your socks. Be aware that maybe that there's a little bit increased more friction because you're dehydrating. Keep it clean is where I'd go next. I think if you want to work on keeping that socket clean, liner clean, skin clean and moisturized, it's going to assist in preventing that blister. But I think a lot of getting a little bit hydrated, which can happen so easily. And then you end up getting a little more pistoning, a little more friction. And again, that's where if you just keep up on skin integrity, keep it clean, use liquid to powder, because again, just a little, we're talking about it. My friend, my middle-aged athlete here is just can't believe how great it's in reduction of skin issues it's created for him. So yeah, I'd keep it, and itchy at night kind of tells me that could be a little bit of bacteria on the skin, and you can address it with the VitalFit. So what do you think, Cosi?
Yeah, no, I'm thinking the itchiness thing, it could be, again, if the blister's around there and just forming, it could just be a little reaction to the blister. But Joan, definitely keep an eye if you see any speckling in the skin, any red dots, either like a heat rash, fungal infection, bacterial infection, keep an eye on the itchiness. And everything that obviously Greg said about volume management, especially for the below the knee, that tibia tends to be light up on a lot of folks, especially as you start to lose volume and muscle mass, that tibia is going to protrude a little bit more. And then just also have your prosthetist check your alignment next time you're in there to see them. Sometimes, and again, this is where I'm relying on Greg to help me out here, certain placement of the foot could maybe lead to a little bit more pressure on the distal front end of that socket a little bit there too. So,
right, that's a good point. I think if you haven't had this issue and it's just occurring and you're a little more active, a little bit more outside during these hot summer days, then think about that. But I guess that's where I'm going with it. If it's something that's ongoing from initial fit, then Cosi's spot on with it. And let's make sure the foot's placed in the right. You're not bell clacking in the socket. A lot of transtibial patients. I used to always, I got my green cup. If you bell clack in your socket because of volume management, or if it's that feeling you're getting when you initially fit, we need to look at that, because that is exactly what will hurt your tibia, and very rapidly. So be aware of that. So.
Okay. And then Joan asked, should I wash the stump in the AM and PM, or is once a day enough? It depends on where you live. Joan, I know you're in Canada, so not as hot and sticky, but if you're having a blister in that area, definitely would look at it in the morning. Might just need a rinsing if you took a bath the night before, and just see, if there's an odor, if your liner is a little bit moist from sweat, that would indicate, yes, to do it both in the morning and in the evening hours. And in some cases, like I said, here in Florida, my patients have to carry spray bottles with them as they're going from about their day. And in the middle of the day, they have to change everything and clean everything off and put new socks on.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, good point, Cosi. I think hygiene, keep it clean, keep it sterile. You're going to have a better outcome, just hands down. The more you can wash it, the more times you could look at that throughout the day, the better. And you're just keeping your skin integrity at maximum. Mm-hmm. So Sharon, great question. I see this popping up.
That's a good one.
Should I read it? Why do I feel high on the prosthetic side sometimes, and other times I feel high on my sound side? Now I'm going to let Cosi answer this one, and then I'll interject.
He's grinning because this is a good question.
I know. I want to hear what you have to say. So I love it.
I'm going to take the opportunity to plug another one of my shows. So guys, YouTube channel, my live event that I just did last week, I did a whole show on gait deviations. And that's just basically a fancy word for different ways that we walk. Some people call it limping. Some people say they're walking differently. Okay. So Sharon, for you, that to me just sounds like you're maybe going in and out of your socket, in the sense that some days you might be sinking more into your socket if your limb is shrinking. And then other days, maybe you're putting on too many socks, basically the change of the shape of your limb, right? So some days you might be a little bit bigger than others. So on the days that you're bigger, you're going to sit up higher in your socket, which means your prosthetic side is going to feel like it's longer. And then other days when you're shrinking, right, you're going more into the socket, which means your sound side feels longer, Sharon. So that would be like the number one culprit I can think of for what you're experiencing. Did I get it, Greg?
Yep, you got it perfect. I give you an A+ for that. It's exactly it. It's sometimes you may retain some more fluid, sometimes you could be dehydrated, and it will affect your prosthetic fit. Just be really aware and conscious when you put your liner on, when you don the prosthesis, that everything's lined up correctly. Because even in my case, sometimes I can pull into my socket and I'm like, wow, I feel like I'm towed out, and redonning it. But volume management is, again, that's a great question. I think you hit it on the head.
And here's her follow-up to that, Greg, and I'm gonna let you take this one. She says, I have a vacuum system. Should that take care of it?
Not necessarily. So a vac system will help, create that pump and that suction of the socket. But if you're going too deep in there and it's creating too much vac, if your volume is and I would say volume from dehydration, it could be a number of things, but the main culprit is dehydration for people that I deal with. But not necessarily, I would say, with the vacuum. So just really be aware when you initially don it. If you feel like you're not getting in, maybe reduce it with one sock if you're wearing socks. Really, the best result here is stay hydrated. I guess that would be the best thing that I try to tell people is drink your water throughout the day. But so yeah, then necessarily a vac's not going to change that.
And then Sharon,
it's going to stay on you though. So
I would say, Sharon, another thing to consider is, do you have any underlying medical issues? Do you have high blood pressure? Do you have diabetes? Do you have an autoimmune disease? Anything that might just predispose you to water weight gain? And we all notice changes in our fluctuations in our weight on a daily basis, but it's figuring out, is it coming from my lifestyle, meaning lack of water, salty diet, or is it coming from an underlying medical cause that maybe needs to be controlled a little bit better?
Awesome.
The thing to consider, Sharon, is if you notice that in the morning, your prosthetic side feels longer, right? And by the evening, your sound side feels longer, then that also just indicates the natural progression of the day, meaning your limb starts out bigger in the morning and shrinks throughout the day. And again, that's a very normal thing that many of my own patients will experience. And they just have to understand that throughout their day, they need to readjust their socks. So if you see that pattern, then that's your culprit right there.
Good point.
Okay, let's see. We got another here. Cortland says, I am getting a new socket and liner. My liner is different because my tibia has shifted forward a bit, causing pain. I forgot the company, but the new liner has a strip down the front of the sleeve for cushion on the tibia. I'm excited to get relief from the pain. Greg, do you recognize which liner that would be?
Well, a lot of companies are doing that. I think the Willowwood liner has some padding. There are specific liners out there for more padding in that tibial area. Just about every manufacturer is making that now. But yeah, that's great. It'll give you, and this is the thing that we just said, it'll translate and get worse. If your socket gets worse, you start bell clacking in the socket, which is more stress on your tibia. So great to start out with a liner that's going to reduce that, or have maybe 3 or 4 mil extra in that tibia area. So good. I think it should work. Again, I think we're talking about all these things as an amputee. You got to learn your body. From the being a new amputee to a seasoned one like me. Once you figure it out on hydration, activity, how many socks I'm wearing, that's what and I guess it's a learning thing all the way down the road. Something changes all the time for me too, but just being in tune with it, I think that's great. So good. I think that should help you. But just the easiest way to think, if you're bell clacking in your socket, then we need to address that volume. So.
Mm-hmm. So here's a comment from Sean. East Coast amputee shop received their first shipment yesterday. Starting sales, reviewed the 4 products and love them, especially the liquid to powder. That's my favorite too.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
Two for friends that ask and trust me. And again, I was having actually this conversation with Alex, who's the prosthetist who was on my show last week, and I was telling him about these products, and he was saying, he's like, well, what do you typically recommend? I'm like, honestly, as a clinician, I sometimes am a little bit lazy, and the VitalFit product line has everything that my patients need. So it's just easy. All I have to do is just say, here you go. That's all you need.
Right. Well,
and
good
go
point.
from there.
I just want to shout out to Sean and say thank you. I'm super, super excited you're on, and appreciate what you're all doing in Canada. So
awesome.
Excellent. So let's see. Hang on. I'm trying to get to.
Cortland had an addendum. My prosthetic guy gave me an antiperspirant spray made by Alps. I haven't used it yet.
Okay. So guys, prior, the past 16 plus years prior to meeting the VitalFit team, I used to hand out antiperspirant to my patients and different drugstore remedies, in terms of like cocoa butter, sometimes Vaseline. Sorry. And other, just over the counter stuff, just to try to see what I could do to help my patients. With the antiperspirant, here are my thoughts. I would have to tell my patients they have to put it on the night prior after they take their shower. They have to cover their limb in the antiperspirant to give it time to really soak in overnight. If they did it in the morning, then it would just create like an oil slick and slip their liners off. Okay. So for some of my patients, it was kind of a pain because they like to take their morning showers instead of in the evening. Okay. And then the other thing about it is, the amount of aluminum and chemicals that go into some of these antiperspirants versus the deodorant, that also over long-term use, some people aren't crazy about. That being said, sometimes I do have some people like who are big time runners, my super high athletes. We will start off with the liquid to powder. Okay. And if we find that it's helping, but not doing everything, right? Because sweat happens, guys. Then maybe just for the run or for the particular sport activity, we put on just a little bit of antiperspirant to help with that. So Sophia, you use cocoa butter. I love cocoa butter. I used to work in the burn trauma unit. We used cocoa butter by the gallons on our burn trauma patients, and it was wonderful for that grafted skin that had no pores, no sweat glands, no oil glands anymore. But the minute you put a liner on top of it and a prosthesis, again, especially here in Florida, where the minute you start sweating, all of that stuff comes up to the surface again and would slip right off.
Great.
So again, I have nothing against cocoa butter. And like I said, I used it for a lot of my patients and it was great. But when it comes to you putting a liner on top of it, it didn't do the trick. So
Great. Yeah, I think maybe at night it would be okay to use cocoa butter, but we have a night moisturizer in the liquid to powder products that'll address perspiration. I think you're spot on too, Cosi, with a lot of my high level, athletes on their heavy days. Liquid to powder may not do it. You may have to use a little bit of Start and Dry, but using it the night before is what's key. And once it soaks in, even if you shower in the morning, it doesn't come out. It's already in your system and preventing those sweat glands from doing what they're supposed to do. So you may have to. It's one of those things. I think that's what we're here to talk about. We have an alternative that's better and more helpful and it works. That if you're going to go do a triathlon like Johnny, you may have to use a little more. So because that's extreme activity for an amputee, and that's awesome. So.
Yeah. So Cortland, you're so very welcome, and thank you for participating. And we appreciate your shout out so much. And I'm going to give something else away, because that's what I do. So Jamie's going to put a link in the chat box. Please click on that and let us know a few words on the first webinar that you see. And I like this one. Of course, our blogs are great, but if by chance you miss something that we have had a webinar on, it's a wonderful library of phantom pain, liners, sockets, you name it, it's all there. So it's a great resource for everybody.
Right. Hopefully we answered a bunch of questions over the last year. Oh, here's another question coming up. When should the liquid to powder be completely dry before donning my liner?
Yes.
Cosi?
Yes. And I had actually somebody from the Cosi Talk show emailed me that question from couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Right. Saying it just wasn't working. And I go, well, you need to let it dry all the way, and then it'll dry and it'll feel like a nice thin filmy powder. And then you can go ahead and put it on. But it only takes a few minutes, guys. And again, this is what I love about some of this stuff, especially the moisturizers. They just go right into the skin and soak up pretty quickly. So that makes it really helpful. Like I said, hot, sticky Florida.
Yeah, awesome. We're reading the other monitor over there. Sorry, I'm looking away.
Okay, yeah, we're looking in a couple different places. Okay.
All right. More questions? Come on, everybody. Let's see what we have. Suck it to me. I love that. Sharon got it. That was a good one. I think that was a good talk.
It was a good one.
And that's another thing, Joan, if you're still on and listening, and again, this is like, you know, if it's really becoming a problem on the tibia. Where was I going with this? Oh, yes. The liners, looking at the different liners. And guys, we have, I don't know, Jamie, if you can pull that one, the talk that we did on the different kinds of liners. One of the liners that I like to recommend people talk to their prosthetists about if they start to have a lot of problems on that tibia is the polyurethane liners. They're a little more expensive. They're custom made. But I know that I've had some really great success with people because it just kind of shuttles away pressure areas. So especially, like I said, people who have that bony tibia or people who have skin grafting over the end of their residual limb, that's just a little more susceptible to shearing and tearing.
That's right.
So
Right.
I don't know if we can put that link up there.
Yeah, that's good.
Congratulations, Kevin H.
Right.
Oh, hey, Kevin.
Kevin. So send me an email with your address and we will send that to you. Thank you. So.
Awesome. Okay. Let's see Sharon put on here, talk more about the no sweat liners. Okay. Breathe liner. I know you're a big fan of that one with Blatchford. They, I think the OWW liners, the Smart Tim. Again, we talked about this a month ago now. The different materials that the manufacturers are using now, they're addressing the temperatures in the socket, and there's liners out there today that can reduce the socket temp by a couple of degrees, which may not seem a lot, but it's tremendous. It really is. So Blatchford liner, I know you've had Micah in your studio. Talk about that a little bit, because I haven't even tried one yet, or even fabbed one yet, so I need to learn more about it.
Well, and it's interesting. I mean, so the Blatchford Silcare Breathe liner, guys, if you look at it, you know, it looks like a pretty standard liner, and then it looks like it has 1 million pinholes into it. And I don't know how they put the pinholes in, if it's laser or some other technology, but basically it acts like a sieve. So if you pour water in it, you can see the water coming out. I mean, it's just like, hello, that's what's going to happen with the sweat. It's just going to completely get out of that liner. And it was interesting. I had a patient who came in and he was hell bent. He wanted one of those liners and he already had a very good, it was another one of the temperature ones and I can't remember, but he said that when he put the Blatchford on, he noticed a difference in the temperature. Like he noticed that it was already a difference there, which surprised me. The downside, and we've discussed this, Greg, is that obviously you have to build the socket around that particular liner. And Greg, maybe you can talk a little bit more about, there's just something in the bottom part of the connection that has to be done to the socket.
Right, they've got an expulsion valve that you need to fab in the socket, and like I said, I can't speak professionally on it because I haven't done one personally yet, other than reading about it and looking at going through their course. I guess I did that as well, but it just requires its own socket retainer and expulsion valve that's special to the system. But pretty neat technology. You know, they're really thinking it clearly through that they want to, you know, dissipate heat in the socket for the patient. That's just pretty neat.
And I think it's in combination with skincare and just, again, seeing that sweat wick away. You know, now granted, I usually recommend to folks if this is, you know, go through the conservative methods first, you know, do your skincare hygiene, use a product like VitalFit's, something that's meant to help with controlling with sweat. And then if, you know, you find that you need a little more help with that, then start exploring some of the higher end liners and see, because obviously as you go up, you know, the expenses and the insurance gets a little more crabby with you. So try the conservative and then talk to your prosthetist and see. And if the Silcare, for example, is something that you want to try, obviously you're going to want to coincide that with your socket change. And just, you know, coincide it with that and have that conversation with your prosthetist. So
Right. So I think some of the other, like the Smart Tip liner, you don't have to change out the prostheses if you're wearing some such a liner. So there is an avenue too. But again, like Cosi said, if you're really, you know, dead set on that, then when you're getting a new socket at that year mark, then talk to your prosthetist. So,
and that would be talk to them.
When Sharon puts it up, you use VitalFit with these liners. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yep.
Even with the Smart Temp liner or the Silcare liner, you're still going to experience perspiration and chafing and these issues that the VitalFit prevents. So I just say absolutely. You know.
Yep. And then in extreme cases, and this is something I've been meaning to kind of like look at the literature and just sit down and read it, the use of Botox for sweat management.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know that I've had a couple of viewers. There's one viewer out there, he's a runner, and he gets, very active fellow, and he gets Botox done to his parts of his residual limb every 6 months to help control the sweat. Obviously not meant for everybody. And if you do decide to go that route, definitely you want to go with a licensed dermatologist, and not just an esthetician. You want a licensed dermatologist to provide that service. But that's another, again, last resort, in my opinion, kind of thing to do, but different options that are available out there.
Great, good point, good point. I've heard of it, and I haven't known anybody to do that, but I hear it's available. So
yeah. I know the military did a study on it, and it's like, I gotta find, I think I was at AOP a year or two back.
Probably,
and it's on one of the poster board presentations. One of the military VAs had done that study on their men. So it's just like, okay, we need to go find that study and read it and see what.
Yeah, me too. I agree. Yeah, and I think it was through the military. I recall that. So,
yeah. And then the other thing, Sharon, is that it doesn't break down the liner, the VitalFit products. Okay, but there are other products out there that will break down your liner in terms of just drugstore type solutions. So that's something also to consider.
Good. That's a good point.
All right, we got
more questions. More questions, everyone.
The Facebook.
Okay. Yeah. Here's another one popped up on here. Is how do I control the odor? I'm reading a different screen. So.
A different screen. I was just like, yep, that's
hygiene, right? So again, the VitalFit products, daily moisturizer kills bacteria and fungal, but typically that and perspiration and dead skin cells all contribute to odor. So again, I'm going to say keep it clean, people. Like in the beginning, if it's twice a day you have to rinse your liner, that's fine.
Mm-hmm. And like once every 24 hours.
Yeah. Let's see.
Your limb needs to be in the shower. Your liner needs to be cleaned once every 24 hours minimum.
Gosh, okay. Any other questions, everybody?
We covered all of them.
I think I'm running out on my other monitor here. So
Sharon says that she's noticed less odor since starting the VitalFit. And guys, it's one of those things that when I first start off on a patient on VitalFit who's never used it before, my baseline recommendation to them is use all 4 products for 2 weeks straight. Basically just to kind of let your skin get acclimated, because it's kind of meant to work as a system. And then after those 2 weeks, we will tweak. If they're finding that it's just a little too oily, especially with the Florida heat, then maybe we'll take away one of the moisturizers and only use the moisturizer in the colder months. Or the opposite, if they find that, nope, their skin is still a little bit scaly, then we can say, okay, you can increase the use of some of these moisturizers, especially at nighttime. But usually that's just my recommendation. That's not a dermatologist. That's just me saying for 2 weeks, just let your skin get used to the products that way.
That's a good recommendation. Yeah.
Good point. Good point. Good.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to give folks a little bit of time to throw any more questions down there. Okay.
Good one.
All back.
All right.
That'd be correct.
That's correct.
Yeah, I think I was reading your question too, Kevin. Yes and no. It depends if you have sensitivity on your popliteal nerve. Those additional ribs can give you problems, but VitalFitsr does have the 5-wave, and that's an old liner, and that thing works great. I mean, I just had so many people have such great success with that extra couple ribs versus a single rib or a single suction ring. So if you can tolerate that pressure, then yeah. But I have seen people switch from a single ring liner to that multiple ring liner and create issues. So just be aware that on your back of your knee or the popliteal area that you can take a little more pressure because that ring is right there, that additional rings. So, but yeah, I think again, switching a liner and testing a liner, if you have that capability, yeah, you might find it's better. So. Good. All right. I think Cosi locked up on us.
Oh, come back, Cosi.
Lost the videos down. But yeah, that's a good question.
I'm going to have Jamie throw the survey in there just so we've got it.
Okay.
So folks, please fill out the survey. It helps us make the webinars, well, everything that you desire basically, and just better and better. So click on that, fill out the survey, and then what we'll do is we'll pick a winner, Jamie will, out of a hat, and we will send you a 4-part kit. So please put your email in there if you'd like that. So, and again, the input is super, super appreciated. You're back, Cosi. Hello.
I'm back. Sorry. I think, like I said, the Florida thunderstorms are kind of kicking around. So my connection is.
Yeah.
Just right. Let's go.
A little wishy.
Awesome. Well, good. Everybody, thanks for you all showing up tonight. I think that's really great. And I see three people have been here quite often for these webinars. So thank you for showing up, everyone.
Yes.
Okay. I think it locks a little bit, and then you're there. There you are. Okay.
Oh. All right, so Paul's going to throw up some slides, folks. Congratulations to those that participated and won the travel kits. The next slide's a discount code for y'all to get 20% off your next order. So take a picture, write it down, and please enjoy that. And the next slide is a shout out to our fabulous Cosi Talk Show every Wednesday, 8:30 Eastern. Everything limb loss. So please join her. And last but not least is my slide. Oh, I lied. Last but not least, our next webinar, we're super excited to have Amputee Coalition on board with us. And Cosi and Greg are going to talk with a few of the folks there, and they're going to go over all the amazing tools and support that they have for the community. So please join us with the Amputee Coalition on the 22nd.